interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
What is going on, everybody? This is your boy Jack here with yet another MTO. First, before we get started, before we go on through this video, I just want to mention that as you guys can see, I am not using my normal MTO camera. The camera that I normally use is a Canon. Right now I'm using one of my newer webcams from Mexico. No, this isn't a plug. Unless they want me to, then they can contact your boy and we can discuss our business. Otherwise, this is just me simply telling you guys that I am using this camera because your boy has been doing a lot of filming for a lot of different projects with my other camera, and I made an oopsie and I forgot to charge my camera. So that is what's going on right now for that one. We're just using this one. I'm still trying to figure out the resolution, the focus, the blurring and fading out of the back, the freak. Okay, this video is done. It's over. But pretty much just trying to configure the video settings for this webcam is still in the process, figuring it all out. So bear with me if the resolution doesn't look as good as it should. Today, what I want to talk about with you is
Resident Evil.
Okay, thanks for that. I was gonna say it, but anyways, I want to talk to you guys about
Resident Evil.
What the freak?
Resident
Yo,
Evil.
who is saying that? I want to talk about a game series that is probably one of my favorite game series. If you guys haven't checked out my reaction to Resident Evil Village, go check that one out, and it'll tell you guys a little bit about how I feel towards Resident Evil. While I'll be getting more in depth and maybe doing some story times about why Resident Evil is one of my favorite game series out there, and it's ranked high within the top 5 favorite games, Resident Evil 4 being my number 2 favorite game of all time. Today, I was just sitting here, kind of minding my own little business, still working from home because of COVID, and while I was working, I just had on my secondary screen some guy doing a small, well, not a small, it was actually an hour-long analysis of Resident Evil. And while I've forgotten the YouTuber's name because it's not someone that I normally watch, I'm going to put their name, and once I remember who they are and once I find the video again, I'm going to put their channel in the description box down below so you guys can go check out the video for yourself. But ultimately, their analysis on Resident Evil 7 particularly was so spot on, and I thought it was really good. I'm gonna be real with you. Resident Evil 7 was, at the time when I first played it, my least favorite out of all the Resident Evils. Even though I still liked Resident Evil 7, a lot of people are gonna, find this, kind of shaken, but Resident Evil 6 was a game that I actually really enjoyed. The reason for a lot of people felt that Resident Evil 6 and even starting at Resident Evil 5 was drifting away from what made Resident Evil such a great series, and it was the survival horror aspects of it, the feeling that you were walking into something not fully prepared with what was about to happen. And like I said, the guy that I was watching, he did a great analysis and why a lot of people felt that way, especially for Resident Evil 5 and definitely Resident Evil 6. For me personally, I'm a very story-driven gamer. I love video games that have a lot of lore and story and just development in the story. For me, I understand a lot of people felt the gameplay was kind of drifting away from that, but I felt with Resident Evil's story, as it was progressing, as it was going through the legacy of Wesker, as it was passing through, Raccoon City and then revisiting Bioterror on a whole new level when it got to 6, that story, intrigued me. It always has intrigued me. Every bit of the Resident Evil franchise has intrigued me. You know, when we're talking about the books, the novels, the graphic novels, the games, the CGI movies. No, not those. We don't even acknowledge those. But Resident Evil is just such a fascinating universe. And yeah, for me, Resident Evil can never do no wrong. I know it's, for a lot of people that sounds insane, but for me, Resident Evil was that game. Survival horror aspect was great and everything like that. I'm a very big fan of horror just in general. Why did it sound like I said something completely different? I'm a very big fan of scary type things. So yeah, I love that aspect of the original ones. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this, the reason why I wanted to bring this stuff up and actually talk to you guys and give this my thoughts on, is because, as I had mentioned, you know, Resident Evil 7, while I did enjoy the game, while I did get the frights that I needed from the game, and I enjoyed the story, it wasn't my favorite. However, to be honest with you, that has changed. Looking back on Resident Evil 7, the game really did what kind of the game really needed to do. Now, like I said, I'm a very big story-driven gamer. I really love games that do that for me, that progress a story in a way where I could never even fathom it. And I think, you know, oh my gosh, not saying that I want to be in the Resident Evil universe. I don't think any normal human being would love to live in a world that tainted by human greed, to where they literally create monstrous beings that kill off other humans. I think that's a sick world to live in. However, the story and the world of Resident Evil intrigues me. It intrigues me on a whole nother level. Man, there's just so much content that I can make talking about Resident Evil right now, thinking about it, but I'm not gonna pass this video past 30, let alone even past 20 minutes. What I'm saying is Resident Evil was starting to go away from what made it so popular amongst so many people, with FPS versions of the game and, you know, freaking just a ton of different, you know, heavily action-based stuff, right? And I think, you know, Capcom was getting lost in it a little bit because, you know, you had Resident Evil, the movie series, you know, the one where you had Ultraviolet playing a bad A character. Just, she was, you know, kicking zombie dogs off the wall and, you know, shooting lickers like it was like, you know, nothing. You know, the zombies could have been scary and all this different types of stuff. It still maintained that action feel, and it really didn't do anything for people, let alone me. And I like Resident Evil 6 and 7, the games. But as I was watching this analysis of the Resident Evil 7 game, I understood exactly why people loved it so much. Is because while me, on the other hand, I'm very story driven, I'm very into that, you know, that feel of what Resident Evil, the lore, brings to the table, being so fascinated by it, because I read the books, I read the novels, I watch the CGI movies, I indulge in all that other stuff. And maybe these people who were a huge fan of Resident Evil 7 did as well, right? But a lot of people just really loved that survival horror aspect of the game, and they felt like it was being taken away. Kudos to Capcom, because what they did was they saw a problem, they listened to the fans, and they corrected it before it went any further, before they lost a lot of fans. Because the truth about it is, I think a lot of Resident Evil fans were so dedicated to the game series, even after Resident Evil 7, a lot of people were still dedicated to the series because they knew Capcom can deliver when they need to. Capcom has the ability to deliver when they realize, hey, we got to do something, and you know, our fans are looking for us to do it in the best way possible. Resident Evil 7, looking back on it, is a really good game. It's a really good game. It might not be my favorite game, but it did what Capcom needed it to do, and that's to reignite the fire under the survival horror genre that made Resident Evil such a top dog juggernaut in the genre in the first place. And it did that. So I know that's the reason why a lot of people are really excited for the upcoming Resident Evil Village, as well as I am too. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. There's other reasons why we're excited for it too.
Oh, yeah.